It's about that time to grab your favorite snack and sit back and relax, because you are now listening to the Movie Time podcast with your hosts, Low-Key Geek Rene and Blake the Wolf. Take it away, boys.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome. It's a brand new week and a brand new episode of Movie Time, the movie podcast with two bros hanging out, talking about movies. What's going on, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be a short but sweet episode because we're going to be talking about shorts. Hey, see what I just did there? Okay, you know what I'm saying. All right, cool. But as always, I am always so happy whenever I can have my buddy, partner in crime here, join in on the conversation, and that is my boy Blake the Wolf. What's going on, dude? How have you been?
Dude, when you said we're covering shorts, I was like, wait, we're doing fashion? Don't know why I was thinking shorts.
Yeah,
like
it's end of summer, so best thing to talk about is shorts. We could talk about Bermuda shorts, surfer shorts, cargo
Let's talk
shorts.
about merchandise later, but the idea is shorts, like gym shorts that on the butt it just says these shorts are a feature film. I think we might have $1 million.
Oh my god! All right, where's my?
Yeah, actually, we should probably cut that out because that's fucking.
Okay,
brilliant.
that is pretty damn smart. I like that.
Right,
I like that.
Film shorts, yeah, dude. Yeah, normally we talk about shorts one time a year, and that's Oscar time because that's when everyone goes out and watches the Oscar-nominated shorts. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a thing right now, especially with however it's working, film budgeting, it being difficult to get a film budget going, streamers being able to put episodes on. And so we're getting auteurs right now. We're talking about a couple of them, but it's a thing that I think is going to become more common as we go forward, which I'm excited about that possibility. We'll see. Yeah. But we're talking about Wes Anderson and Pedro Almodóvar, some two classic indie auteurs have been doing it for a few decades, at least. So, but me personally, I've been doing fine. I've missed you, buddy. I'm glad you've been doing your damn thing at the New York Film Festival. It's been awesome seeing it on the channel. How have you been, man? Are you ready to get into it and switch off that mode?
Yeah,
I guess we're still there because we are talking Almodóvar.
Yeah, we're still there. I got just a couple more screenings to attend to, especially with Ferrari being the major close of the festival. So really looking forward to checking that out. But I would say 90% of my film festival has been said and done. Wow. I've seen a lot of film. I've tried to speak as much about them as I can on the channel. One thing you really don't realize when you do what we do here and when I do what I do is that it's one thing to go out and actually watch the content and then record yourself talking about it, but it's also another thing to edit it and then get it published and then do the thumbnail and then do the description and then the tagging, all that kind of stuff like that. Like this is one of those moments where I realize, oh, no wonder why these bigger channels have editors and video editors dedicated for that stuff, because for one person to do it all, it's a lot.
they call that work TDS, not TDE.
Right. Right. Exactly.
It's supposed to be a group thing. I'm proud of you for pushing through all that. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm also getting over kind of an illness as well. Don't need to talk about that right now.
No, you're licensed to ill. You don't have to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I am licensed to ill. Damn right. If there's one thing the BC Boys taught me, it's that, and that I have the right to party. And that is, what we got to do, and that's what we got to fight for. So, and we're going to fight for us being able to talk about such wonderful film and short films like you just mentioned, because it is interesting how, we have Wes Anderson along in the same conversation as Pedro Almodóvar, and another one who we're not going to be talking about this time because none of us, both of you and I, have not seen it, with Yorgos Lanthimos also having a short film debut at New York Film Festival called Bleat, also starring Emma Stone, who's the star of his latest film coming out soon, Poor Things. So it's like a lot of these main directors putting together these short films, and I don't know if maybe the pandemic had something to do about it, where they kind of just like started writing these little ideas, and then they decided like, oh, let's film this quick little short thing. You got some free time. Yorgos is like, oh well, Emma, I'm already working with you right now. You mind coming in for a weekend as we film this other thing? Pedro, I'm sure, was just like bumped into Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal. Say, hey, buds, let's do a movie. Okay, let's go. And it's like fun times to be had all around. But definitely want to talk about these two because these two are very, very interesting and fascinating in their own rights. And before we get into all that, obviously, if you're brand new to listening to us, thank you so much for tuning in. We always appreciate the support and all that. You could find the full episodes up on your podcast platform of choice. And I try my best to keep up with clip outs and all that on the YouTube channel and what have you. So again, thank you so much for your support. Also, make sure to check out ways you could help support the channel by going into the description and seeing the partnerships that we've had as far as affiliates are concerned and all that. One of which is a new partner that we just teamed up with called Surfshark. So if you are familiar with a VPN service or not, Surfshark could be something interesting for you. So happy to have Surfshark on board as one of the affiliate partners for the Low-Key Geek channel here. If you're in the market for a new VPN, I highly recommend a company like Surfshark. And trust me, I've tried all of the VPNs out there, and by far Surfshark is the number one clear-cut winner for me because of many reasons. Yes, of course, it gives you great protection and security protection while you're browsing the internet, especially when you travel and you're in other countries or other states, and you want to make sure your browsing data is, fully secured and no one is like spying in on you or stealing some of your stuff that you're transmitting online. What I mainly use Surfshark for is for unlocking the streaming services that I already pay for. There's no better feeling in knowing that you can get more out of your streaming services by accessing content that is not necessarily readily available for you in your region. What do I mean by that? Well, a great example is that recently I wanted to check out some movies off of Hulu, but I don't subscribe to Hulu. But I found out that in the UK, Hulu movies are shown on Disney Plus. So all I had to do was connect to the UK server there through Surfshark. And then once I was connected, I just logged into Disney Plus and bam, Hulu movies were available and I was able to enjoy it without any issues with quality due to speed because everything was playing perfectly and the audio was coming in crisp and all that. It's as if I was just watching it normally through my normal internet connection. But the main reason why Surfshark is by far the best is because it is the cheapest out there. And I can't stress that enough, where, we're all trying to save money here. And with all the stuff that we pay for on a monthly basis, the last thing we need is to add on an additional high monthly payment to our bills, and Surfshark will not hurt your wallet at all. As a matter of fact, if you scan that QR code you see on the screen right now, or you check out the link in the description of this video, you'll find out how you can get Surfshark for 85% off plus 2 additional months for free. Again, I can't speak highly enough about it, and I'm so glad I came across him, and I'm so glad that they decided to partner up with us here. So again, if you are in the market for a VPN, or maybe now you're more interested more so now to check them out for the first time, scan the QR code you see on the screen right now, or check out the link in the description and find out how you can get 85% off plus 2 months for free. Again, thank you so much, and if you do try Surfshark out, let me know what you thought about him when you do, and let me know your thoughts about the service in the comments of this video. If you're interested in Surfshark and that sounds like something up your alley, then definitely check them out, or check out any of the other partners that we have listed in there. And of course, we have a merch shop as well. Check out the merchandise you get through the link in the description, where you could find, a shirt, a sticker, all that kind of stuff to help support the channel. And all that stuff goes to help growing the channel, so that we could do more things like attending more festivals and what have you, and talk about what we love talking about the most, and that is movies. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about first on our list here the wonderful story of Henry Sugar. This was when we were talking about Asteroid City earlier in the year. It was kind of I guess both you and I realized at the same time that, wait a minute, Wes Anderson's coming out with something else later this year on Netflix. And we're like, what is that? And it's a series of shorts that we found out. And we were kind of like intrigued by it all because it's like, wow, it's rare that you get multiple projects in a year from the same director, especially when one already does a full-length feature film, to have something else come out alongside of that. And in this case, it's a series of shorts based on stories by the famed author Roald Dahl. If you are familiar or not, this is the same author that wrote classics like Matilda. He actually wrote Fantastic Mr. Fox, which Wes Anderson already kind of translated into his little stop-motion animated feature film. So very, very famed author there. Are you familiar with the author? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's right.
Which, shout out, Roald Dahl's having a good year. Let's just put it that way. And I wouldn't be shocked if, Wes Anderson gets in good with the Roald Dahl estate with Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then now gets to make this little group of short films based on what I think were short stories from Roald Dahl. I don't know if they were full-fledged books the way some of his others were. But, there's a short story collection. But I am familiar with them in the way that everyone is, where James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, BFG. These are stories that we've had, or most folks have had in some version growing up in at least the children's library back when physical books were more of a thing. I don't know how those are translating now, but even then the IP is solid. Yeah. And the only kind of reputation I know, which I don't know much, is that he's doing very imaginative stories for children, but also they're a little bit more, there's a darkness to them, or kind of more in the line of the old fairy tales where there will be something sinister underneath, or there'll be a darkness or scariness baked into this story. So it was very popular as we got out of the, real children's books where everything's happy and it's a bedtime story too. You're in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you want to be a little bit more grown up. And there's something more, just more grown up about his stories compared to some of the other children's authors so that's what's interesting is Wes Anderson taking those on. He similarly is known to paint with kid gloves, but also take on some serious subject matter, but doing it in a very light and colorful tone. And he's very, he can be very precious in his storytelling. Right. So it's funny when you watch one of the Wes Anderson movies, it's like you're not worried and nothing bad could possibly happen. And even when there is there's danger on the line, or the alien shows up in Asteroid City and it's very cute. Yeah. You don't feel concerned during the movie necessarily. Kind of like the way when you're hearing a children's story, you're like, okay, well, we know things won't go properly dark. And yet, if you were to read the plot of some of his movies, they're very depressing, morbid, tragic, sad. And so I think similarly, his tone and Roald Dahl's tone go well together. And having watched all 4 of the new Netflix shorts, which were dropped, I think every day a new one dropped. Right. It made sense to me that he's taking on this project. And some of them I go, oh, this is darker than Wes Anderson would do. And some of them were lighter, maybe, than especially than some of his full lengths. Nonetheless, their tones are very simpatico. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting because we are seeing a Wes Anderson now who really spends a lot of focus on theatrics in a way in his movies. When I say that, when we talked about Asteroid City, for example, it felt like watching a play within a play in a certain way, right? And the story actually played out as such, where you had a bunch of actors putting on a performance, telling a story, and we're watching the story as if it was the movie itself. And then we're seeing the behind the scenes transpire in between all those kinds of things and all that kind of stuff like that. And I think at some point there's even a play within a play within a play, and there's a rehearsal within there.
Right.
It was very removed in that regard. Yeah.
Right. Very true. Yeah. And so we're only going to be talking about the main short, which is Henry Sugar, because this was the longest of the four that he put out. It's like 40 minutes. While the rest I think was like 17 minutes each.
Yep.
And you had a chance to actually see this in the theater, so I'm curious. I'm gonna ask you how that experience was for you. But the one thing I found really interesting about this one, and I watched it at home on Netflix, it felt very low budget, and it came across as if he had maybe like a free week. He had an idea for adapting these short stories. He took like one of those handy cams and he decided to film, even though there's a set and everything like that. He went very lo-fi on this. And maybe it's because I saw it at home. I can actually see the quality of the film and everything like that. It felt very lo-fi in a way. Even the sound, it came across as if they were just recording in a studio, but without any additional editing or any additional like soundproofing or anything like that, because it came across as if they were putting on a stage performance, and it felt really like a stage performance all throughout. And as the thing was playing out, they're moving through different sceneries and all that. Like, I can see this really be something I would watch like on Broadway or off Broadway, So I guess in a way it begs the question: are we ever going to see a Wes Anderson produced Broadway show? Because I think it's getting to the point where he might as well give it a shot, because he's already doing it, but on film. And of course on film he has more leeway because he has the ability to do special effects when he needs it and all that. Quick edits whenever he needs to like change costumes out or whatever the case is. But I'm pretty sure there's very creative ways he could accomplish that in a live environment and all. So that was like one of the major things I took away from this. And I think one of the things that, and I'm sure a lot of people, whether you're a Wes Anderson fan or not, you're going to talk about the dialogue and how everything was very narrative. It's a narrative, basically, because you have one person narrating the life of Henry, and then you have Henry reading kind of a narrative of another person, right? And then you have the narrative go back to Henry and all that. So it's like it's changing all these narratives and all. And the way that the narratives come across, or the dialogue comes across, it's as if you have a very unenthusiastic father reading a bedtime story to their kids, and he just wants to get through it. So he's not putting any emotion into it, and he's just being very factual about everything he's reading, right? The small brown fox went into the hole, and the hole was very tiny, and there was the rabbit. The rabbit said, "Hello, fox." Fox said, "Hi." It's very much like that, right? And it's very, very just factual. No emotion or whatever the case is, which I guess, as we're learning, especially now in these years of Wes Anderson's creativity, that's his charm, right? And I feel like it's kind of evolved into this, because if you go back to watch films like Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, it wasn't like this. So it's kind of evolved into kind of like this very unique, niche kind of form of storytelling, which is only associated with the Wes Anderson style now, especially with the aesthetics of the color palette and the framing of the shots and everything like that. So for someone like me, I found it to be still entertaining, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, it's getting to be a little bit repetitive for me as far as like this type of way he's telling stories. I wish, there is a part of me that kind of wishes he would go back to those days of Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums like that, to tell like real kind of heartfelt, but also very mature stories from beginning to end, instead of more of the vignette type of storytelling, which he's doing a lot of these days. And that's why I kind of say, like, I maybe at this point, why don't he just try doing a Broadway production? Because I feel like that's what he's aspiring to do, or he's kind of like pushing towards that direction. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I still enjoyed it. But I definitely wouldn't say that it was like one of my all-time more recent Wes Anderson stuff that he's put out there. But because I am a fan of Wes, I'm always going to watch Wes stuff, and I'm either going to say, oh, this is like a 3-star or this is a 5-star. It's going to be like one of those things, right? I don't think Wes Anderson will ever, in my opinion, do like a 2-star rated thing, unless he really falls out of whatever and does something really bizarre. But that's just me. So what were your thoughts and your experience of actually watching it in the theater? And did you get the same thing that I picked up on watching it at home?
I'll start with that. I don't know how much more low budget it was. It was definitely, he's taking a short film and he's doing it's not as broad of a work. And I don't know budgeting, what Netflix gave him for this. I don't know if we even have those numbers. But there's something intentional about it too, where when we see the person floating and it's clear they take a box and put it underneath
which is cute. It was cute. Yeah.
That's what it is. I honestly don't think that it was a budget issue. I genuinely think that if he had the budget to do CGI and make it look like the person's floating, I think he still would have chosen to do this.
Right.
And if we're talking about the thing where Wes Anderson is removed as a director and that actual human stories at the heart of his films are removed from the story that they're in, this isn't new for Wes Anderson. It is something that's been in his movies. I just went through his filmography. Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums both have actual plays within and theater productions within their stories. Life Aquatic is a movie about making a documentary. The other movies I was looking through all have some version of it where either characters are performing and acting like characters to each other. There's spinning a narrative in the TV reports on Isle of Dogs. In French Dispatch, there's an interview. And it's kind of like there's very often, if not always, one level of remove from within the action itself. And Wes Anderson does the thing where he's not the actual narrator, the person speaking. It's often like a Bob Balaban. There's been different people doing it, but he'll even have the title credits come up, and it'll show the items that are being the famous, in Moonrise Kingdom, the intercuts where it's the items that they're using for their runaway.
Yeah, like the backpack, the map, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
In Royal Tenenbaums, not only are there plays within it, it's a book itself, and it would show the first words of the book as they're opening and then flipping through the pages. This is something that he's not necessarily known for entirely when people look back at those movies, but they were there the entire time. And it's almost like he's taking it, yes, maybe another step further. Or in this case, French Dispatch was 3 vignettes with a narrative around it about the magazine. It's funny because as I talk about them more, there's also more layers that I'm realizing are happening on top of it. That French Dispatch, the whole motif was like there was a magazine telling these stories, and then within those stories, there were stories being told within those stories, right? But that's 3 vignettes, and this one is 4 short films that aren't connected, but you could see a version where the first one is shown at the movie theater, and then the other 3 are shown, and you would have something that's the length of an hour and a half, right? More or less. So maybe he's getting further down that road as he's getting further in his career. And I personally like it. There's always been something kind of twee and kind of detached in his movies. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, we talked about it a lot in our episode about Asteroid City. So I don't necessarily want to belabor it a whole lot more. But there's something where that might be the only way he's able to tell that story. There's a character who says something like that in Asteroid City. That's the only way he's able to tell a deeply human story. I agree. I would love it if he went kid gloves off and just go all in and tell something closer to what's happening throughout Royal Tenenbaums and maybe even lose the intercuts. That would be an interesting project, and that might be how he gets another magnum opus. That said, this has been his project in some ways the whole time, and I think these are successful, although I could see some folks are going to like it less and some folks might like it more. There's another question, is he leaning more into his character as a director and what he's known for, or is it just who he is and we're just becoming more used to it over time and seeing these things? Like when Tarantino puts a foot in a movie now, is he commenting on how Tarantino puts a foot in a movie, or is he just still putting feet in movies and we're all just real ready for it? So
we're just like hyper aware of it now, right?
And to go back to your original question, this is a short film, so I know we don't need to go into every single aspect of it, and we're not going to talk about the other shorts. I like as far as whether they're successful, I like some more than others. I like them all a good amount. Poison was my favorite one, and then Henry Sugar was right up there with it. I went and saw, I thought it was going to be, I thought there was only one short film because that's all that they played at the theater, and then I realized, oh, thank goodness, there's more, and I looked more into it afterward. But they only played Henry Sugar at the IFC Center. I think there were 2 showtimes a day and only for a little bit. Maybe they're doing some other rollout, but I don't think for the Oscars you have to play in a theater to get nominated for a short. For
shorts, I don't think so, no.
It might, right. It might just be to get the word out and get some publicity for it or make some little extra money, which Netflix doesn't need. I did think it was interesting that Netflix is doing these, but they weren't playing these at the Paris Theater that they own.
That
actually kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's up with that. They had El Conde happening at that time.
Yeah.
By one of my favorite directors, which we're not going to talk about today, but I would have been more interested in seeing this. The theater was so full. And because it was a short film at IFC Center, they don't have a lot of trailers. People would come in and they were like, groups weren't sitting together because it was a small theater, very full, and people were just like looking for any seat. It could have been standing room only, and people would have been standing for the 40 minutes. The theater very much enjoyed it. There was applause at the end. You're not going to get a lot of fist pumping and people, weeping openly at these movies. They're all, we already know what it is. But personally, I like this Wes Anderson project and what he's on. And these are another good step in whatever his weird moves are of his career now. And there is something to be said about the direction he's taken with these short films, that he is doing something different. I've never felt like he repeated the same move twice. He never said, oh, that movie worked, and so I'm going to make another replica of that. He's always been advancing his own storytelling and his structure, expanding those worlds, leaning more into certain tricks and falling away from others. When you see a theme in a Wes Anderson, the way he tells stories of, oh, this is a kid of divorce, and or he's doing the intercut thing, and he might do it more the next movie, but then he doesn't do it at all the following one. I don't think you can quite pigeonhole him. You could, though, say he's in that phase, the one you described. I like it. I think it's successful overall. I'm curious where he goes from here, and it's possible at some point he might unshackle himself from whatever his project has been the last few movies, and it would be really lovely if he went just full adult, very dramatic auteur at some point. But for now, this is what we have, and he is getting more into similar like the Roald Dahl thing. It's a more adult. It's cuter in some ways, and it's more sinister in other ways, especially a couple of the other ones. The Ratcatcher, I definitely check that one out. It's another favorite of mine. I find it very interesting the way these last few projects have come out. I have a feeling his next move will be very different, and I don't know, but he's worked. It feels like he's worked through something with these, and I'm excited about his career now, but I understand why you're skeptical of these films too.
Yeah, and it's more along the lines where it's just like I'm just starting to see repetitiveness in a way, and maybe I'm being unfair because we just saw Asteroid City, right? Yeah. And now we're getting these short films very close to each other. And they do share very similar aesthetics, very similar kind of ways of handling the storytelling and all that. So maybe I'm just like, oh, because it's a brand new thing, I'm expecting something completely different. But that could have been just what he was into at the time. This is the phase he's in right now. You know, kind of like French Dispatch, even though it's closer in similarity to Asteroid City, it's a little bit different from what we got from Grand Budapest Hotel and Moonrise Kingdom, right? So it's we are definitely seeing the phases of Wes as he's going through his filmmaking years and all that. But it would just be nice because, again, I think one of the main reasons why a lot of people fell in love with Wes was because of, you know, his movies like Royal Tenenbaums, you know, things like that. If we could get more of like that more very heartfelt adult story that, again, it doesn't feel very vignette-y. Like it has like a thorough storyline, a through story that does involve the same group of people or the same person or the one main subject matter, you know, and all that. But again, it, you know, that doesn't mean that I'm not liking what he's doing right now. It's fun. It's definitely fun, and it's nice to see. I'm not surprised your experience at the theater was what it was because, again, we are in New York. It is the IFC, right? So you're going to have a lot of Wes Anderson fans, I'm sure, rushing out to go watch that and showing their support.
That sold out so fast.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Which is great. And again, it just goes to show you again that even though they knew it was coming out on Netflix, they rather go out and support it in the theater, as you know, as anyone should. But I mean, we are living in different times and all that. But I guess one of the last things I'll say about this is, you know, with what we're getting from him now, would you? I mean, let's say all of a sudden he just announces 1 year. It's like, hey, for a limited time for 3 months, I am doing a off-Broadway show. It's going to be XYZ or whatever the case is. I mean, you would totally be into that, right?
Yeah, of course. One of the Coen brothers has actually been doing that, and I think that's interesting.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
And I'm so mad. Instagram gave me an ad for I think it was just that Coen brother. And I looked and the tickets were very affordable. I was like, I'm going to bring all my friends. It was in LA. I was like,
God, yeah, they do that sometimes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, of course I would do that. I would love that. That said, he is such an incredible filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather him do this where, yeah, there's something kind of like it feels like it's on a stage set. And there's something where there's the narrator where Dev Patel, I think, did a great job with his line.
He was really good.
And then, of course, Ray Fine is going to do the thing where he's saying something and describing something in real time. And then Dev Patel is going, and then I said, and says the thing. And then he said to me, and then here's the line. Those were very well done. He used a lot of people he hadn't used much before, if at all. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was a great person to have. Dev Patel did a fantastic job in multiple of these shorts. But overall, as far as him, I would rather him do more movies, even if it was a stage show of a movie. That's more interesting to me because I wanted him to keep going through and making more great movies because then you also get to rewatch those. And that's my only beef with Broadway. It would disappear. And even a recording of it isn't the same.
Right. I just think, I guess for me, it would be so fascinating just to see him do what he does currently in movies on a stage production because it does go hand in hand, right? And I can only imagine the creative ways to achieve those kind of transition shots that he does in a live environment, you know, and we've seen off-Broadway productions do amazing stuff with their creativity when it comes to stage sets and all that. So it'd just be really fascinating to see. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Dev Patel was amazing. Benedict Cumberbatch fits within the Wes Anderson mold, you know, which is one of the conversations we had about Asteroid City, especially like with someone like Steve Carell, who I didn't feel like fit in that. Benedict totally fit in that. Dev Patel
I think
totally
Kingsley,
fit in that.
great job.
Yeah. Richard Ayoade. Is that how you pronounce him? The guy from the IT Crowd.
Oh, he did so good.
Yeah,
this is some of my favorite casting of his, especially since he reuses a lot of the same folks. Mm-hmm. This was interesting.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And I didn't see the other one, so I don't know how Rupert Friend did, but I will find out.
Solid. Yeah.
Cool.
Honestly, they're all worth it. And those other ones are 17 minutes each. You're looking at another 40 minutes, basically. Absolutely. Full recommend. That one, The Swan with Rupert Friend, seems to have gotten a lot of good reviews. It wasn't my favorite. If I were to rate them, I'd probably go Poison, then Henry Sugar, then Ratcatcher, then The Swan. But also, I could flip basically any of those at any point. The Ratcatcher has the worst reviews, but the subject matter is kind of upsetting. It's a guy who takes the job of being a rat catcher too seriously.
Okay.
Watching Ray Fiennes be a rat catcher who says like, oh, you have to think like a rat and act like a rat to catch the rats. And then you see him doing little things with his teeth and his hands. And you're like, God. He's acting. It was freaky, but so good. I really liked it.
But I could see him totally pull that off too. You know,
so good.
Yeah.
He's playing such different characters throughout these stories. That character is so different from his main one. And we also haven't seen him be a schlubby, he's the hunched over writer with a cardigan on as not really the narrator. Is he playing Roald Dahl, or he's playing the writer of these stories or something? Mm-hmm. Like the super narrator, and then there's a narrator within that, and then there's narrations under that within some of these stories. But I may have gone one level too far. I get lost in those things, but that's how it goes with these. But nonetheless, it's very different from his Grand Budapest character, right? Where he's the most buttoned up guy.
Right.
It was cool to see.
That was another thing, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned it. Within the same movie, within the same film, you had these actors playing multiple roles, where always, even though they're like the tiny roles, like maybe the guy who's assisting the other guy or whatever, like, or the what was it? Was it Ray Fiennes, who not only plays the initial narrator, but then later on in the film he plays a cop, and then he shows up in like something else. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so fascinating, and again, it's a very like play-like production where you have just multiple people playing multiple different roles and supporting everybody in there. I have to say, also one of my favorite things of this is that one shot of when the guy who could see without his eyes, when they put him in the wrap bandage on the head, and they just filmed him walking down the halls without bumping into anything, avoiding things, and then going down the stairs. How they did that one shot, I thought that was like really brilliantly done. It was really, really, really good.
I also think Wes Anderson is such a perfectionist. I don't know how well it would work for him to do a Broadway show. Can you imagine just like every 15, like the lights go out and he starts tinkering with things, trying to make sure everything's perfectly lined up. Like every night the show would be 2 hours late because we just got to like, okay, we got to dust again. I don't know, but there's something about him as an auteur and filmmaker who makes these things.
Right.
Whereas I don't know if you're ready to transition, but
yes,
to the other, I saw Ethan Hawke on Broadway in a show called True West, a Western. And that's a man who is he's in some ways more of a stage actor than a Hollywood actor. And he loves that stuff. And between himself and I was listening to an interview recently with the daughter, Maya Hawke. And she was saying like the reason why he does a lot of the projects he does in Hollywood is to fund his theater program. And like that's their whole life's mission. And that's a guy who's a very like rough and tumble in a lot of ways, the opposite. I think he's somebody who would do the worst in a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed seeing Ethan Hawke in a short film, in a gay Western by Pedro Almodóvar. and kind of merging those two sensibilities. But you saw this one as part of New York Film Festival.
Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Make sure to check out the link in the description of this episode or scan the QR code you see on the screen right now and find out how you can get unlimited data for only $15 a month. Save a whole ton of money on your monthly cell phone bill without sacrificing any of the quality. No contracts to worry about. You can cancel anytime, and the transferring process is so easy. You can keep your phone number or get a new one. Need a new phone? They got you covered as well. Over a year ago, I switched from Verizon without any hesitation, and it's not just because I found Ryan Reynolds to be a sexy mother. Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Mint Mobile, but I guarantee you if you give Mint Mobile a shot, you'll understand why I made that switch, and you too will be a happy Mint Mobile customer. So once again, check out Mint Mobile, link in the description of this episode or QR code on your screen. Check them out. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but before we continue, I wanted to quickly talk about Bulletproof Coffee. Bulletproof Coffee is my favorite coffee of choice to start off my mornings with. Why? Because it's clean coffee. What does that mean? Well, one, there are no chemicals in it. Why? Because they go through this multi-step process of making sure that all of their beans are fully clean and free of any chemicals, so that when you get the beans delivered to you, it is the pure beans, the pure coffee, the goodness that you've been wanting, the taste, the flavor, and the nutritional value as well, without worrying about any added chemicals or anything else put into the mix there. It also doesn't have that weird acidic taste that some coffees give you. I don't know how about you, but for me, some coffees kind of give me that weird sensation in my stomach, makes me a little burpy, and it kind of drags me down a little bit instead of really waking me up, which is something that I need from my coffee every day. Bulletproof also offers a lot of keto-friendly snacks and supplements, anything that you need to kind of add to your everyday nutritional needs, add to your diet, and pretty much transforms the way you feel every day. So for a limited time, if you use this code that you see on the screen right now, LOWKEYGEEK, all caps, one word, you can get 15% off your order. So what is it better than that, right? Check out the link in the description of this episode. Use this code, get yourself your discount, and make your mornings a little bit more bulletproof with Bulletproof Coffee. Now, back to the episode. We're talking about Strange Way of Life, the 30-minute Western short film by Pedro Almodóvar. And
with Pedro Pascal.
Oh my God!
Ethan Hawke. Pedro Pascal. Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the things that drew me to this short film, is because you have arguably the two hottest zaddies in Hollywood right now, with Pedro Pascal and Ethan Hawke, right?
Probably Pedro Pascal did a Western recently with Mandalorian.
Right. Well,
so he's in this world.
Absolutely,
we can do that.
Absolutely.
And in some ways, Narcos is also in that vein, right? Man is good. And whatever The Last of Us, it's not
The Last
really
of Us.
Right?
It's not a Western, but it's kind of...
It's grimy.
It's still gruffy and grimy, yeah, and very masculine. You know, these are two men who play very masculine roles. And you're right, neither one of them would work in a Wes Anderson film at all. It'll just be a totally different experience. But that's what really drew me to this film, because again, you have these two actors who are playing former lovers in a Western setting. And I was like, sign me up, because this has got to be one of the more interesting things I've seen put together. Now, I've mentioned to you before we started recording this, is that I am not familiar at all with any of Pedro's work. Pedro Almodóvar, not Pedro Pascal. But his filmography is very well known, especially to film fans, people like yourself. And there are a lot of movies that he's done that I am aware of. It's just I've never seen them, and he's, 30 years now career of filmmaking. There are movies that I remember when I used to work at Blockbuster Video, I would see on the shelves, and I'll just be curious, like, oh, what's this movie about? What's that movie about? I remember seeing All About My Mother on the shelf all the time, like the cover for that. And that's like another movie that I know a lot of people talk about. Talk to Her is another one that I remember seeing everywhere at one point. And then you were mentioning to me like movies like Volver. In recent years, Parallel Mothers, Pain and Glory. You know, those are some of the movies that he's more kind of known for in more recent years. So
around Halloween time, let me recommend this Skin I Live In, where Antonio Banderas is playing. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I also really don't want to spoil this one.
Sure.
But basically, someone wrongs him, and he's a plastic surgeon, and he changes them to look like someone else. And then there's another double flip. Something, I don't remember how deep it goes, but I remember being irked seeing it. Full recommend if you want to have like a little freak out movie night. A lot of his things are much more melodramatic and mothers and some kind of like either homosexual, transsexual, something, either undertones or overtones. But that one, he just goes a full freaky. It was cool. It is a well done and one of his best reviewed works. Since we're in spooky season, gotta recommend it.
Nice, good looks. Yeah, no, that's good to know. Another one that also stands out in his library here is Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. I remember when that came out, huge controversy around that movie when that film came out with Antonio Banderas and all that. So yeah, so the guy he has been around for a long time, and it's amazing that I have not, indulged in any of his films up until now. But after seeing this, I will say I do now want to go back and check out what he's more capable of as far as full-length feature film. Because this one was, for someone who is new to his line of work, I think this one is a very tasteful kind of snippet of what is to be expected with his filmography. So what I will say, just first off, is this is like the novella I've always wanted for some reason. Like, I've never watched soap operas. I've never watched novellas. I know people who have. If this is what a novella is like all the time, I want this. I want this more so than I ever expected myself to want anything like this. Seeing these two men kind of rekindle their love affair that they experience. Most of the movie takes place in a bedroom, as they're having their little conversation back and forth and all that. But to see like the flashbacks of when they first started their love affair, or when that love affair happened, the funny scene with the wine and everything, and how they just went nuts on each other. Pardon
the pun.
Well, it was very unintentional. But this is a world that I need more of. I think 30 minutes wasn't enough. Now it ended in a way where I could see him possibly continuing it, which would be fascinating to see. But the way it was shot, and again, I am not familiar with the way he shoots movies and all that, it really felt cheesy and campy, but purposefully, like all done on purpose, like I was watching a TV drama, like I was watching a novella. And I was like, the minute I started seeing like those same kind of like camera pans, or the dialogue being shot just by one point of view, and you see the back of the head and all that, and then you just see the switch over like that. It's like, this is TV.
The moment when Ethan Hawke and they're showing him, he has a serious face, and then Pedro Pascal comes up and kisses him from behind.
Yes.
I melted. Yeah.
Yes.
So
I was just like, wow, this is the best TV drama I've seen like that in a very long time. Like this was like,
you're talking about like there was the Western aspect. So
right.
I really enjoyed it. Even just on the like, oh, what do you do if it's your friend's son? And let's put friend in quotes here, right? But like, if it's that old buddy, and then he's the sheriff now, and he has to go find that kid, and the friend's going to talk him out of it, but he's got to do what's honorable.
That's right.
That's great drama right there. And then you throw in the bathtub scene.
Oh my
hell
God.
Yeah!
It was again. He did a lot in 30 minutes. There was a lot of story that was like thrown at us watching it. We got enough to understand the initial attraction, how it started. We got to know what brought them together in a way. We got to understand that there's a conflict now, because it involves the son of Pedro Pascal in the movie. He plays, Ethan Hawke plays the sheriff who has now to correct the wrong that was done by the son because it was done to his own brother. It's like all this intrigue that's all connecting and all intertwined and everything. But at the end of the day, you have two people that madly in love with each other and have to basically stop one another from doing what they have to do in any way, in any means possible, right? And then the short film pretty much ends with them, just basically like, yeah, I couldn't let you do that, but at the same time, you're my boo and all that, and love you. And it was just so sweet. But yeah, I the one thing I will say also, another thing I will say, one thing I said multiple things. Another thing I will say is that the reception at my press screening was mixed, extremely mixed, which I was kind of surprised because I felt like that type of audience would be very open to this, and they were eager too. A lot of people were eager when this thing was starting. But I think most people were disappointed because it was a short film. I think a lot of people wanted more of this. And the most common...
If you make a good short film, it's never going to be enough, right?
Yeah. And I think the most common thing I heard, there was this one comment I heard someone made, and I thought it was very, very funny, but smart at the same time. He said to his friend, I love this universe they put me in. I just need more of it. It's like you put me in this world, you introduce me to this fantastic world, but I want more. And yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where this deserves something more full-fledged, something more fulfilling. But from what we got, I really dug it. Now, for someone who is a fan of Pedro's work, Almodóvar's work, how did you like this, and how did you react when you saw it?
So I saw it at AMC. For whatever reason, not a lot of theaters here doing it, but AMC in Times Square is showing this with a short film of his with Tilda Swinton from a few years ago.
Oh, so it's like a double short film feature like that?
And the other one is a totally different style, which actually, if you were to watch both of those, you would have a better understanding of the different kinds of movies he makes.
Okay.
Because if this is your intro to him, he definitely did the novella, the campy. He's very good at camp, and sexuality is a huge theme throughout his work. But he also has made many different movies in different styles, and he's made things that are much more serious. And I don't want to say that those things are in contrast to each other, but he does things that are more of camp, and then he does things that are less camp. And this one is definitely more camp in ways, to the point where I at some point was thinking maybe he's trying to do a parody of the genre, or kind of do a piss take on Westerns and Power of the Dog, Brokeback Mountain, etc. But in some ways it's very sincere, and there's something very true that if someone finds it comical, I felt this afterward, if someone finds it comical when something is hyper-masculine and homoerotic, those things aren't necessarily at odds with each other, right? It's just that this man is comfortable working in that world.
Yeah, and I think it's also because we are so trained and accustomed to not seeing that mix, like the hyper-masculinity and, homosexual, sensuality. Seeing that too, we're not trained to see that, so
especially when
times
it's overt, because a lot of people are looking for it kind of under the surface, so they'll like read into things more.
Right.
And I've had times I read into a movie and I'll say it to a friend, especially a cis straight male friend, and he's going like, no, there was nothing homoerotic about that movie, folks, wrong with you. I'm like, look at it a little bit further. And sometimes people protest a little too much about it. Yeah. But rarely when it is playing with those lines is it on the surface the way it is in this one, which I actually liked that he didn't do the like, oh, they're so tortured. It was pretty clear what was going to happen early on. And Ethan Hawke's character had a moral dilemma, and there was the dilemma of, oh, people can't find out about us.
Right.
But it wasn't a problem that a lot of gay movies have, which is there's something very true about it, but it's something that's frustrating where a lot of gay movies get pigeonholed themselves into the tragic love story. And this one didn't lean into those aspects. I really like how it focused more on the relationship, the very interesting dynamic between these two men. But going back, I've seen a lot of his movies over the years. I didn't realize how long he'd been doing this. I know I was thinking 90s or late 80s. That's when he kind of becomes popular and more of an international figure. He's been making at least short films since 1974 in Spain, and was part of a film movement there, and then is making full-blown features not too long after that. Becomes prominent in the 80s, and then by the late 80s is when he's getting known, and he starts making some of the movies that you mentioned, like Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down is 1990. Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown is kind of his big breakout movie. Right. Which I haven't seen a lot of his earlier stuff too. It's something where I was playing catch up with a lot of his movies, and he has so many that now I just see that all the current ones, especially after falling in love with him when Voltaire happened, and Penelope Cruz won the Oscar for that. But this movie isn't a very representative sample of a lot of his work. Pain and Glory with Antonio Banderas is so good. But I think if you were to watch something like Pain and Glory, The Skin I Live In, Voltaire, but then also throw in Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, or some of his earlier movies, you'll kind of get the more of the different styles he does. All that to say, he is very capable of making a very campy novella style movie, and he's able to do a lot of different styles and switch as a director. Watching the Tilda Swinton one afterward, which we won't get into, it was such a different style, so good, so beautifully directed. It could have been, if it was a full-length feature, it could have absolutely been nominated for Best Screenplay, Best Picture, Best Actress, Tilda Swinton. Like, just a very beautiful, well-done movie. And tonally so different from Strange Way of Life.
It's fine. What was the name of the Tilda Swinton one?
The Human Voice?
The Human Voice. Oh, okay. Oh, that came out in 2020.
Yeah. I don't know why they put them together. Maybe it was so AMC could sell a ticket.
Yeah, I'm thinking so they could fill in at least like something an hour or an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That's so, I feel like we should do like a Almodóvar kind of retrospective and just like go through his library, because there are a lot of.
Year is 50 years since his first short film.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that might be perfect time for that.
But,
yeah, that might be perfect time for that, because there's so many things that I am now really curious to watch and really check out under his. And again, this is what makes what we do exciting, especially talking about film, because I will sometimes come across creators, directors, writers who I've never known of, or I've never allowed myself to experience. And he is now one of them right now for me. This is the first time I've seen him do anything, even though I am very familiar with his films that he's done in the past. And now it makes me want to go back and now watch these for the first time, and that's exciting, because, when you watch film as long as we have, you get tapped out on the common names, right? Your Scorsese's, your Spielberg's, your Nolan's, your whatever. I mean, there's so many, but you get to the point where it's like, all right, I've seen all of these guys' stuff, so what do I do now? And now, finding or experiencing someone else's line of work for the first time, that's when it gets exciting, and it's like, oh, wow, now I get to like relive all of these things that a lot of people have already experienced, but I haven't, and that's what I love to come across every now and then.
Big time. That's one of my favorite things about these festivals, and whenever one of these guys will make another movie, especially Almodóvar kind of doing his retrospective, where it's like a memoir film where Antonio Banderas plays him with Pain and Glory. That was so beautiful. I would definitely, if it's a retrospective, I don't think it's a bad place to start there, or even in there. As you go through them and be able to look back that way. But I'm excited because, especially after the COVID break, we have a lot of directors putting works out this year.
Yeah. And
some of them are doing back-to-backs that we just talked about with Wes Anderson, and then getting these little short films. It's a nice moment to take stock and appreciate the big film slate. And over the next month, I know summer blockbuster season's over. Got a lot of good shit coming out in the next month, bro.
Yeah, no, we are full blown award season. And if what I've seen at New York Film Festival so far is any indication of what is to be expected, we got some nice stuff coming out. We got some really, really good stuff that's coming out. You know, I mentioned Yorgos Lanthimos earlier on in the episode. Poor Things. That is a movie to watch out for, because I think this is and I again, huge fan of Yorgos' line of work. He's done a lot of great stuff. I'm sure a lot of people just know The Lobster or The Favorite. I mean, I'm going back to like what was that Sacred Deer movie. I'm going back to like Deer. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that he's done. This is by far, I think, my favorite film of his. And I dare say this is probably one of Emma Stone's best thing that she's done.
Is it a spooky season movie? I don't know if it's coming out before Halloween. I don't think it is.
I think it's coming out in November. Okay. I want to say.
If you want a spooky season movie of his, Killing of a Sacred Deer is solid, but also Dogtooth is fucked up.
He's
gotten much more palatable in recent years. Kind of glad, because I love him, but some of the early stuff is real messed up.
Yeah.
But he's a good director for Halloween, I think, even though it's not spooky, you know. But I really want to see this one. I'm going to put you on the spot here because you've been in film fest mode.
Yeah.
If you had a best feature, you're an audience, you know, you're whatever it's called, an audience vote.
Oh, like an audience award or something like that.
What's the one you would give the award to for the best feature of the year so far? You're really hyping up Lanthimos. I was wondering if it's that, but
yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Ferrari, so I can't include that yet. But from what I've seen so far, right now it's a tie for me. It's either Poor Things, Lanthimos' Poor Things, The Boy and the Heron, the latest Miyazaki Studio Ghibli movie, and Opus, the Ryuichi Sakamoto concert documentary. Those are the three in contention right now. And I'm basing that off of like the ratings I've given them on Letterboxd. All three movies I given 5 stars. So I mean,
how many stars did Maestro get?
Maestro got 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
4.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good.
Okay.
It's solid. It's really, really good. And needs to be experienced in a great sound theater. Like if you have the sound in a theater that's like top notch, just for this one particular moment in the film, you have to watch it in that type of setting, because it is. I am so jealous that debut, what was it? The premiere night for Maestro, they played it in the Geffen Hall at Lincoln Center.
Oof.
And they've never played films in there before.
Wow,
so they did it.
Cool.
Yeah, they did it because, you know, Bernstein is like the big conductor, performer, musician, and he's performed in that hall before. So they wanted to pay tribute to that.
Amazing.
And I'm so jealous that they did it there, because the sound must have been outrageous during those like musical performances. But yeah, those are the three I would say right now. My question to you, now that we're getting a lot of these short films from a lot of these well-known directors, what's the short film category looking like come Oscar season? Are we going
4 Wes Andersons and 1 Almodóvar?
And Yorgos Lanthimos, don't forget. He got one in there too.
It's an interesting question, because sometimes there's been this, especially in recent years, a trend where big names will throw money or their weight or their star power into or behind these short films, and it does help. Name recognition helps a lot in Hollywood. It's almost like they love glad handling and networking, and oh yeah, my buddy made this thing and I had a lunch with him. And at some point that might run out, and at some point you have to make a quality product. But I think what we've seen so far, I wouldn't be surprised if Almodóvar gets a nomination, if Wes Anderson gets a nomination. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them whiff completely also. In some ways, these aren't the kind of movies that you would typically see in the short film category.
Right.
So, and also I could see people saying, I don't want to give them a leg up, when the short film in some way it's looked at as like, oh, we want to help someone who's a young,
right,
new filmmaker, shoestring budget.
Person, yeah.
And there's a lot of people who take their short film Oscar and turn it into their full career. A lot of documentarians win the live short, the documentary short Oscar, and then they turn it into more opportunities. Yeah. So I could see them taking some hit points, but overall, I honestly don't know, because it's very rare when you go see those. They release all 5 of the short films together. It's very rare to see a well-known director among those.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be a problem in that way, but I would personally love to see those being movies that were released in theaters with real stars in them, movies that I'm excited to talk about and rewatch,
Yeah. No, I mean, the reason why I ask is like you said, I am very familiar. I'm used to just seeing that category with people that I usually just never heard of, or who are known just in more the indie world, right? Now,
there might be a name,
right?
A narrator. Sometimes there'll be something you recognize about it, but it's not the whole thing, right?
No.
That director and the stars.
Yeah. So it would be interesting if this time around, all of a sudden we're seeing, Pedro Almodóvar and Wes Anderson and Yorgos Lanthimos with 3 of the 5, selections in that category. I mean, I don't know if the studios behind them are going to be pushing that. Again, I don't know if it's studios that push that or if it's the individual creator who pushes it. I don't know. But it would be a very different environment if we start seeing that becoming a possibility, because maybe there's also a time where a studio's like, well, we can't seem to push them in this category or a full feature film. There's no shot. But they happen to have directed this short film this year. Why don't we help them and push them in this category to kind of give them some recognition or whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
And in some ways it might even help push the feature if you get the short film, right? Because then people see that director won, and pretend it's Lanthimos and Emma Stone, then they're more likely to go see the movie that's still in theaters. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Which that movie won't have that issue, but if there was one that did, let's say Asteroid City blanked out, but Wes Anderson got the nomination, you might get some extra streaming money on Asteroid City for all I know.
Right. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, like in Wes's case, Asteroid City would at least get screenplay nomination.
Production design, maybe.
Or production
something
design.
Like that.
Yeah, something like that.
He'll usually get a few of those, but I don't think he'll be in much above the line except screenplay.
Yeah. But again, he's no stranger to that. I feel like he's used to, getting recognized, at least in that sense. Cool. Anything else to say about Strange Way of Life or any of these Wes's shorts you want to mention?
No, I mean, we're not doing a feature film, so we're keeping it the short film lane.
We're keeping it a short, yeah, absolutely. I am very curious to check out, because we keep talking about Yorgos, Bleed. I'm so curious to check out Bleed Out. For those of you who don't know, Bleed is a short film. Yeah. Bleed, B-L-E-A-T.
Oh, check Bleed Out. Yeah, okay, not check. Bleed Out. Got it.
Bleed Out. It is a short film, black and white short film. It's a silent film that he made with Emma Stone, who is also the main actress in his up-and-coming feature film, Poor Things, which I'm telling you right now, that is a film you have to look out for. I think that's going to blow everyone's minds, both in his directing and in her performance in it. So very looking forward to hearing your thoughts and comments on what we talked about today and what we're going to be talking about again in future episodes. So as we close out to this week's episode of Movie Time, Blake, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Go to Letterboxd. My username there is last name Wolf. No punctuation, just how it sounds. Last name Wolf.
Last name Wolf. And like I said, he has some of the best lists out there. So definitely check that stuff out. You can also find me on Letterboxd, Instagram, X, Twitter, Twix. I'm going to call it Twix. Call it
perfect.
Twix. I like it. On Twix under the LOWKEYGEEK. If you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll get to see more in real time my ratings on the films I've been checking out at New York Film Festival. I will be writing full-on reviews on there coming soon, and then posting more of the reviews on the YouTube channel as well. I've been doing more like the diary style reactions and everything. It's a lot of stuff to keep up with, and I apologize for the slowness at times, but a lot of good stuff coming up. I recorded a lot of the press conferences, so definitely check that stuff out. So again, like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff on YouTube, podcast platforms, wherever you're listening to this, wherever you're watching this. All the support you throw our way is greatly appreciated. Share the word. Check out our affiliate partners. Check out the merch shop. All that good stuff. We love you all. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Movie Time. I've been Rene. That's been Blake. Catch you next time. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye.